Now, it's been confirmed today that thousands of jobs are set to be lost after Japanese car giant Honda announced plans to shut its factory in Swindon in 2021 in a devastating blow to the motor industry. The factory employs 3,500 workers, but at least as many people work for companies which supply Honda with parts and services. So, how do those in the UK's vulnerable motor industry cope going forward? Joining us to talk about this in more detail is economics professor Geraint Johnes. Thanks very much for joining us, Professor. So we're talking, in the media of 3,500 jobs here, but I suppose there could be many more.
That's 3,500 jobs going out of Honda, but as you were just saying, the supply chain involves probably another 3,500 jobs. This is coming on top of similar news that we've had from Nissan in Sunderland with the withdrawal of the X-Trail production from Sunderland. We've also heard bad news from Ford, particularly affecting Bridgend, where there's an engine plant for all sorts of Ford vehicles, and also Jaguar Land Rover, who've been hit particularly hard by the decline in demand from China, particularly for diesel vehicles. And for JLR, around 90% of their vehicles are diesel powered. So things are changing in the motor vehicles industry in the UK, and that makes it very difficult for employees of these companies that have to find alternative employment.
So, what is the outlook for these workers, Professor? Where do they go from here?
Well, specifically for Honda employees around Swindon. Swindon traditionally had a large engineering base with aerospace, motor vehicles as well being produced there. That's less the case now, although there is a BMW plant that produces components for Minis. And that might be one possible destination for some of the Honda workers. But the local economy now is dominated by some very different industries. So Swindon's a town that is surrounded by a lot of countryside. It's the largest town for miles around. And so it has a large retail sector, also a large wholesale sector. WH Smith's, for example, has a major warehouse there, and a lot of employment is generated by that. Also, it's a big administrative sector, and there are several firms that have their headquarters located in Swindon. So you've got, for example, Nationwide in the finance sector, you've got Vigon in pharmaceuticals, and you've also got npower in the energy sector. All have their headquarters based in Swindon. So there's a lot of administrative type of jobs. So looking at the types of people that are going to be shaken out of Honda in Swindon, some of them have general skills. So managers, if you're a human resource manager, a financial manager, for example, or indeed if you're a cleaner, you have skills that are very transferable, and it should be possible for many of those to access alternative employment quite easily. On the other hand, those that have got skills in engineering will have built up those skills over many years and may find that it's not easy to get back into similar kinds of jobs, so they'd need to start again at the bottom.
Right.
And unfortunately for many of those workers, they'll find it difficult to get similar jobs with similar levels of pay.
Yeah, because of the challenges facing, as you were suggesting, the car industry more broadly. So we're looking perhaps at retraining. What is the track record when it comes to retraining in this sector?
There's a wonderful book that draws on the experience of General Motors workers in Janesville in America, book by Amy Goldstein. And she traces through the history of people that were laid off from GM at the time that their major plant closed there. And she found that retraining has a very patchy history. For some, it is effective, but for many, people go into new jobs where they've retrained, but they are hit by a second shock, because many of the forces that are affecting the motor industry in the UK now are affecting other industries as well.
But are they in a better position than, for instance, many years ago, I remember the Corby Steelworks closing, and that led to just many steel workers going on the dole, becoming unemployed?
Steel and coal, of course, very concentrated geographically. And there's an element of that with Swindon, with Honda, because Honda is a major employer in Swindon. So there's going to be a lot of people looking for work in that area at the same time. Swindon does have relatively good communications down the M4 from other centres of population, and that may help. But it is going to be challenging. There's no hiding from that.
All right, Professor, thank you very much for joining us, and we wish those families well. Thank you very much indeed for your advice and expertise. Thank you very much.